karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahma vidvaram vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanora mardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhusya sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva tvameva sarvam gurudeva deva. Hari Om. We are doing the self-realization, and more or less we completed what needs to be realized and how to realize. And for that, Vedanta knowledge is required, and Vedanta knowledge removes the ignorance, and in the process the knowledge gets self-revealed, and the knowledge self-revelation is not what is called, there is no result because it is immediate. So it's called, there is no phala-vyapti, it's called vritti-vyapti, but no phala-vyapti. We have to be clear. So intellectual understanding that we understand by all objective analysis, there is a effort involved. Intellect means it involves a vritti, thought process. And the thought process will give you a result of the knowledge of what we are thinking about. So whether it's a biology or chemistry or physics or whatever subject, we are learning through a thought process, and that's called vritti jnanam, and that removes the ajnanam, the ignorance about that, and in the process I get the object, I will know the object, that is physics or chemistry. So the result is, now I know chemistry or now I know physics. So that's called phala. Phala means the result of my effort. So in the case of Vedanta, it's called the vritti vyapti is there, but no phala vyapti. What it implies means that I need to have a constant thinking. It is more important. That removes the ignorance. So ignorance can only be removed by jnana vritti. So ajnanam can only be removed by jnana vritti. And jnana vritti comes through a pramana. So all these things are important for any knowledge. So in the case of Vedanta knowledge, we use the Vedanta knowledge and think in the direction using the tools that are gained, and in the process the result is what? Result is self-revealing. So what do I have to do? It removes the ignorance, but what is removed, once ignorance is removed, there is no fruit for that effort, because fruit is directly there all the time. So we gave an indication like the Acharya gives the example that we discussed, where when we are entering into a pitch dark room, we use a torchlight to see every object, and suddenly we see a pot, and we need the torchlight to see the pot, and we need some light in order for me to go and approach. Out of curiosity, I lifted the pot and put it aside. Then I discover a candle is burning there. Now I don't need a torchlight to see the candle light, but candlelight, Radhika light is self-revealing. Same way, I need a process to remove ignorance, but once ignorance is removed, then immediate result comes, and that is essentially called, because it's a self-revealing, and therefore it is self-effulgent, and therefore because of that everything is known. That's what we chanted the sloka, tasya bhasa sarvavidam vibhati. Every knowledge takes place because of that. Every knowledge takes place means I am conscious of every knowledge. That means the knowledge principle is nothing but conscious principle, and that is there in every knowledge. Now this is the end of essentially talk series in terms of self-realization. Is everybody realized? Now ask, am I realized? And 90% of people say, I understood the whole thing, because it's logical and it is supported by Shastras, and therefore I have clear understanding because it's explained to me in the language that I can understand. So have I understood? This is jnanam. Jnanam is nothing but understanding. Yes, I understood. But have I realized? And 90% will say, no, I have not realized. And this is true for many, because They go through the whole Vedanta and they can give even talks on Vedanta, and when it comes to that, yes, I understood completely, but I have not realized. So what does that mean? If jnanam is what, I understood chemistry, but I have not recognized, what does it mean? In the case of object, if I understood it, it understood. But in the case of Vedanta, there is a problem there. Because people study for Vedanta for years and years and years and still claim that they have not realized Brahman. And where is the problem? Therefore, we have to now separate jnanam from jnana nishtha. Jnanam is a knowledge that you can gain from the study of Vedanta and from the by listening to the scriptures, listening to Otavyaha, we can understand it. At the same time, we cannot claim that we understood or we have realized, because of the problem is I'm not able to abide in the knowledge. The knowledge doesn't stay with me, and that's because of some obstacles for that. So called jnana nishtha, abiding in the knowledge that I am indeed that totality, that has to be fully grasped. So how can I get jnana nishtha? And where is the problem? This is called the obstacles against the self-realization. And that essentially is what we are going to talk about. There are several types of obstacles that come. Where is the problem? Fundamentally, the problem comes in not having the mind properly purified. That is the essence. So where the essence problem is that for this knowledge, there are three prerequisites for the knowledge. And the prerequisites are not being completely met. And therefore, we have only partially met, enough to listen to Vedanta, enough to listen to the talks, at the same time not enough because the mind is coming back again into the world. So what does it? Does this realized person does not come into the world? He comes back into the world also, but with the knowledge he comes back. Whereas the one who does not have this abiding knowledge, what does he do? When he comes back, he again gets mixed up with the world in the same way as before, but maybe to some less extent, and therefore he is back into this. Why? Because his vasanas are still there. So the daily transactions and all that, see, the problems remain again back to the world when you are, because you cannot but come back to the world, and you cannot but transact in the world as long as the body, mind, and intellect is there. But while body, mind, intellect is transacting, I should have that knowledge that this is nothing but Aham Brahmasmi, but this transaction is only for fun. So just as an actor acting on the stage, actor knows that I am only an actor, but he is taking different roles on the stage for different scenes, and he plays the roles as though he is the roles, but he knows that I am not the roles, but I am the actor. That is what a jnani performs. Whereas a person who has understood at the same time not able to abide in that, he gets lost in the world because of the vasanas, and therefore he is giving still a reality to the plurality. So the illusion is still there, and therefore that because of the mind has not been completely purified. Therefore he is getting involved, and therefore everybody says, I've been listening to Vedanta, but after the class is over, he is back to himself and back to the same raga dveshas and all that, likes and dislikes and all that. So the likes and dislikes are a problem. Likes and dislikes are themselves are not a problem. What is the problem is that owning those and depending on that for my happiness outside is a problem. That is the essence of not realizing. That is the litmus test, we said. So if I depend on something other than myself for my happiness, that means my realization is not complete. Even though I understood Vedanta, even though I understand this, so I have to constantly contemplate on it. So where is the obstacles? Obstacles essentially is not purifying the mind. What's the not purifying? Not getting the complete, the qualities that are required. Prerequisites, we said, in terms of the Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. And major problem is you have enough Viveka to discriminate, enough Vairagya, but not the Samadhi. Sama means the Shraddha is major important. That means one of the six-fold discipline, and that is completely lacking. Therefore, Krishna says this is the major problem. In the 4th chapter, after discussing the Jnanam, that's where he talks about Brahmarpanam Brahma, he Brahmagyo Brahman Ahudam, Brahmaiva Tera Gandhavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina, everything is nothing but Brahman. So, everything is we discussed this Brahmarpanam before, and that has to be understood, and even after understanding, I am not able to have Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam. Only I have to have complete Shraddha. If I don't have this Shraddha, then there is a problem. I am not able to get the knowledge. Therefore, Krishna says, in terms of obstacles for self-realization, he discusses this. There are 3 major obstacles Krishna mentions here in the 4th chapter. Ajñasya asaddhadanasya samsayatma vinasyati. Ajñasya asaddhadanasya samsayatma vinasyati. Nayam lokaha asti na paraha na sukham samsayatmanaha. So for the obstacles here, he gives you major 3 obstacles. Ajñasya, one who has not understood. Jnana means one who does not have the clear understanding. So that is called the Ajñaha. So what he has to do? He has to study more. So that crystal clear understanding of what exactly involved. That's what his Jnana means. So where am I and what has to be done in order to succeed in the process has to be completely clear, because of several acharyas providing different directions. So that's where the problem is. I have to use the logic as well as the Shastram, Yukti, logic and experience. All 3 are in that order are required to ensure this is the right path. And therefore, Ajñaha. So the one who has not clearly understood, so for him he has to go to teacher and study more. So Shastrasya, then the scriptures are Sotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha, in that order. One has to listen to the scriptures. How long? For a prolonged length of time until the knowledge is crystal clear. That is essentially Ajñaha. Ajñaha. Then second one is Asaddhadanasya, the one who does not have complete faith. Krishna calls him Asaddhanaha. And the third one is Samsayatma, the one who has a doubt about this nature of the knowledge. And therefore, these are the 3 obstacles. Samshayam is the doubtful mind, and Ashraddha is not having a faith, and Ajñaha is not having clear knowledge. So they are interrelated, and these 3 are major obstacles, and they are vinasyati. The one who does not have it will get destroyed. Destroyed means he keeps going back and forth again, cycle and back to the punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, jatari sayanam. And for him, nayam loka hasti, this ayam loka, even he cannot enjoy this life here, na paraha, not even the higher lives, and na sukham samsayatmanaha. So for the one who has a doubt about this, he cannot have the happiness either here or elsewhere, because the samsara will continue on and on. Krishna emphasizes this, the ashraddha, again in the 9th chapter. Ashraddhadhanaha purushaha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartanti mrityu samsara vartmani. So ashraddhadhanaha, the one who has they do not have the faith in the scriptural study, purushaha dharmasya asya, and about the nature of the reality, asya parantapa, Arjuna, aprapyamam nivartante, having not gained me, means he struggled hard but doesn't have the full faith in the nature of the truth and the nature of the scripture and nature of the means, and he is nivartante nutya samsara vartmani. So he continuously go into the cycle of birth and death and samsara, endless cycle called bhavasagaram. It is a samsara, the ocean, and there is no end for this ocean, because as long as the vasanas are there, there will never be a end there. So this having Shraddha becomes not having Shraddha becomes a problem. And these are defined in terms of two aspects of it. In terms of one is the not having a faith about the nature of the truth. That means this is the truth is I am indeed is infinite. I am Ananda Swarupa. I am of the nature of pure, inexhaustible happiness I am. And that is the nature of the truth. And the problem here is different religions projecting different things about the higher nature. So what is exactly involved moksha? If you go to every religion, they have their own theories, and that makes it more complicated, since because I do not have faith in particular, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. And everything is, if you believe only in this, you will gain, otherwise you go to eternal hell also. So they threaten you if you don't do that properly. So therefore that causes another problem. So not having a faith in the nature of the truth itself, not really understanding what is the nature of the truth. And the one man says, truth is a pathless land. That's why everybody knows this. Krishnamurti says, truth is a pathless land. So what should I do? You cannot do anything because there is no path to it. So, but I need to know. So you cannot know it because it's again you are asking for a means. There cannot be a means. That's a path. Then what should I do? You are stuck now. But at the same time, it says observe your mind. See, that's what is how your unconditioned is. Observe your mind. Who is that observer your mind? Who has to observe? Again the mind only, because there is nothing else instrumental. So mind has to observe the mind. So this has become confusing in terms of, because if you follow any path, you get again a conditioning. But this is what lack of understanding of what exactly Vedanta is trying to teach. So asaddhana, not having clear understanding of why the Shastra is pointing in the direction. I should have a faith in the truth, and I should have the faith in the means of knowledge also. So second one is about the means, not having a full faith on the means. This is the means. What is the means? So what should I do in order to gain it? People have different theories here, and that makes it even more complicated. What's the means? Say Bhagavan Ramananda says Saranagati is the means. Either this Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all are too complicated, and in fact Jnana Yoga is Paradharma according to him, and only the Bhakti, and even Bhakti is too complicated. Best thing is Saranagati is easier for them. Saranagati is more difficult if I have to really surrender. So other than Saranagati means only trying to surrender is not real surrender. So problem is, this is the way, but that's how the Acharya, even those who are following Vedanta, is putting it in a different direction and directing the different, and lot of arguments on this is the correct and that's not correct and so on and so forth, and that increases more. These discussions will be helpful for crystallizing why the path that I am taking is really right. One should be having a firm conviction, and these discussions will help if I have a getting conviction. If I am getting lost in this, then that's not being of any help. So therefore, means of not only the goal, I want to be liberated, I want to be eternal happiness that I am looking for, and these are the means people have discussed. Nirvana, go to different lokas and different this one and all that. Therefore, one has to have a clear understanding that the Jnana Margam, what we are following, is the right path. Because we have confused between what I am versus what I am. Okay, everybody says I am, and again this. We started the whole talk series because of this confusion statement. So confusion is obvious here when I say I am equal to this. This is what is called adhyasa. So therefore Shankara writes Adhyasa Bhashya before he discusses the Brahma Sutra Bhashyas. He provides the Adhyasa Bhashya because this is what the fundamental problem is, and how the Brahma Sutra analyzes this problem is what is discussed later. So this Adhyasa, this superimposed error is a bigger problem, or the biggest problem, and that's being pointed out by Shankara, and everybody agrees to some extent, although they don't say that I am equal to this is a fundamental problem. And people claim that I am this as a small, this is Desa Kala Vastu Parichinnam, that is limitation by the space-wise, time-wise, object-wise. So I am looking for happiness which is unlimited. Unlimited what? It has to be infinite, inexhaustible, and that kind of happiness can gain, and I cannot get, that's only can gain by having anantam, that means infinite. I cannot get infinite by being a finite. So finite plus finite is only finite. And people claim that if you go to Vaikuntha, there you will see infinite happiness. How? That's how. So this is the problem here, where the logic fails. It's only a belief system there. But here, I am going to be infinite, or I am infinite, so I have to recognize that I am infinite, because I am not this, because this is finite. So this becomes a problem, any jiva notion becomes a problem. I have to recognize that I am beyond any notions, and that becomes the real knowledge. So a lack of understanding of the clear notion of the goal and as well as the means. These are these ashraddha. And what else is other problems we will discuss later. But how do I solve this problem? By constantly listening, srotavyaha, mantavyaha, and then nidhyasitavyaha, means constant contemplation on this truth. That means there are two aspects. When I constantly contemplate, I automatically give up the raga dveshas on the other things. I had to withdraw my mind from indulging in the outside activities as though I am involved. But I had to, whatever that is minimum, I had to get involved. So people recommend sannyasa is the means to help you. That means external sannyasa can help you because it avoids all unnecessary problems. It may create new problems, particularly nowadays, because in olden days sannyasa ashrama was being supported by grihasthas, or gurukulas and all are supported by the kings. But now you have to depend on yourself. Therefore the sannyasa ashrama becomes another ashrama where the guru, the big ashrams and big monasteries have been developed, then for support for them, and we are competing with other monasteries, and all this again same problem in a different degree. So if the problems are translated somewhere else, then that's not a real problem. There is not a real solution to the problem. So what is sannyasi is Tyage naike amrita tvamanasahu. So by giving up only you can. What is that my giving up? I giving up my dependence on something other than myself is the giving up. That has to be, whether it comes or not, I should be ready to accept whatever that comes due to prarabdha. So essentially, I have to train my mind and divert my mind towards the higher. And constant sravanam, mananam, and constant contemplation on what I have gained and is important. So people say, I have studied Vedanta. This is all intellectual stuff. Now I have to sit and meditate. Meditate in what? Intellectual study is what is required for the direction to point out. So constant memory or constant remembrance of the scriptural teaching, which is essentially that nidhyasana. So meditation is not meditation in on going beyond the thoughts. Meditation is redirecting the thought towards that and contemplating on the direction that is being pointed out as I am, and dropping, that's called disassociation. I am this means my dropping, the mind has to drop it. So here we have the intellectual understanding, and that intellectual understanding is called paroksha jnanam. That means indirect knowledge, as those like scripture. For I have knowledge of physics or knowledge, now I have knowledge of Vedanta also. So that becomes an indirect knowledge. And realization that I am the totality is called aparoksha jnanam. So paroksha jnanam and pratyaksha jnanam are opposite. Aparoksha jnanam is direct and immediate available, that's right there, is what essentially in. So not only the scripture points out that is the truth, but I am the truth, that is what every required, and the previous studies are important to gain this one. So how is the previous studies important? We analyze this problem in terms of giving an example of a person who has the chain, and wife, we gave that example. A wife gave him a small chain, a thin chain, and he was so happy, and he wanted to show off. So he walked 4 miles to meet his friend and showed off. See, my wife gave me the beautiful husband. The friend also very happy, and then they discussed all other problems in the world. And after 2 hours, they came back. And then when he came back, 4 hours back home, then realized that he doesn't have the chain. Search and search, couldn't find the chain. So he thought he must have forgotten to where at the friend's place. So he ran 4 miles and then asked my son if I forgot, if search for the chain. But friend, after looking back again on his collar, it was there. So he never really lost it. Now the question was that 4 miles really necessary to discover the chain? Says that if you say it's not necessary, then he's in trouble because he doesn't know where it is. If you say it's really necessary, you say he never lost it, it's not really necessary. But what is the correct answer is, the 4 miles of running is necessary to discover that 4 miles of running is not necessary. Same way, Vedanta Shravanam and all that meditation and everything is necessary to discover that I am all the time I am. Unnecessarily I have notions, but these are so deep rooted. The ego is, ahankara is so deep rooted that it springs forth without my knowledge also. So whenever I am getting angry by egotistically about something that is I dislike and all that, it is a sign that my realization is not complete. I can get angry, but anger should not get me. So this is a difference here though. A Swami teacher gets angry, and even lords will get angry. But at the same time, they don't really get angry. They have to act in order to need. Just as the parents get angry with the children for misbehaving, so that with love they even punish the children. But what they want is the child welfare only. That is a different attitude that one has to develop. So this ashraddha, in terms of not having a full faith in the goal as well as in the means. So only way to solve the problem is constant listening to the scriptures, constant talking about it, constant thinking about it, constantly meditating on that truth alone. That becomes an essential for abiding in the knowledge. Jnana Nishtha, the Ramana Maharshi calls it, it's a Drudhaiva Nishtha. So one has firm abidance in that. And that's what Krishna says as Sthita Prajna. So Prajna itself is having a knowledge. Sthita Prajna, that means firm knowledge. Having that firm knowledge can come only by constantly listening to the scriptures. And Krishna defines who is a Sthita Prajna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyeva atmanatushtaha Sthita Prajnasya uchyate. So Prajahati yada kaman sarvan. Sarvan means everything. So there is no desire for anything that I need this. That means I do not depend on something other than myself for my happiness. Therefore, Atmaniyeva Atmanatushtaha is reveling in himself by himself. That understanding has to be gained. Constant meditation is required for many of us who do not have complete purity of the mind. This itself becomes a process of purification, and this or the obstacles for self-realization, ashraddha, can only be removed, and this is a common for everybody. Therefore, scripture recognizes this, Therefore, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, and then say Nididhyasitavyaha. One has to meditate on the teaching itself. With this we stop and we analyze the other problems that are arising from the obstacles. After that, we will switch to another topic. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.